My ex wants to have a casual friends with benefits relationship, but I want something more committed.
So relationships, bonding, connecting, opening up to receive love, dating and relationship labels, that's all feminine energy. That is the woman's purview, if you will. And as I discussed in 3% Man, which you should be reading 10 to 15 times, women fall in love slowly over time, and you're focused on locking her down to a commitment. But you got to realize that all relationships start as casual relationships. That's why the acronym that's in my book that is one of the things that I'm known for is the three H's: hang out, have fun, hook up. There's nothing in there about a relationship. A man's job in the courtship is just simply to create an opportunity for sex to happen, to hang out, to have fun when you're hanging out, and when the signs are there that she's ready to be seduced, to take her and ravish her completely. So there's a process: hang out, have fun, hook up, and that's it. And if you follow what's in the book, typically by about week 7, week 8, she's going to be in love and wanting to lock you down. And that's the mindset you need to be in, because if you're focused on locking her down to a commitment, you're going to call too much, you're going to text too much, you're going to be needy, you're going to probably chase her right out of your life. And the fact that you're focusing on this tells me that you're probably already trying to lock her down, and she's telling you, I'm not ready for a relationship, I'm confused. And the more you communicate that you're more into her than she's into you, the more women tend to back up and back off and not become so available to hang out with you. You got to let women come to you at their pace.
I've been there, done that before. LOL. So my question is, well, for the viewer, because I clearly the ex wants to do the casual friends with benefits. Who broke up with who? That's what
I
I would want to
don't.
know.
He doesn't
Well,
really
the fact
Yeah,
matter
it doesn't
it's
really.
he got dumped. That's what that tells me. Because if he'd have
Out of
been doing the
curiosity.
dumping, he would not typically be writing and asking, how do I get her to commit to me? It's like, that is a question that, quite frankly, should not be in your mind. Your job should be creating next opportunity for sex to happen. Now, if you're very religious and you're like, no sex until marriage, it's like the seduction happens on your wedding night. But for most of us in the West, and the reality is most women are going to sleep with a guy by the second or third date anyway. And so if you just typically make one date per week, then what happens is usually by week 3, the woman's texting you or calling you within a day or two of your previous date. And you should take that as that she misses you. She probably wants to see you and would like you deep inside her once again. So what do? You set the next date. And as the weeks go by and she feels safe with you and she starts to bond with you, she's going to call you more, she's going to text you more, and then therefore you're going to get together more. And guess what? You'll be hooking up more. And if you allow that process to happen, it happens naturally as the weeks go by. Because the most important thing to women is not what a good dude you are, or how much you care, or how much you want to lock her down. The only thing they care about is how they feel about you. And that's why you can't rush it. A rose is going to bloom in the time it's going to bloom.
I think that's another good point too. Is especially if you're going week by week, like you don't just text her all the time. You like set
You
that
text her to
date
make a date
and you just take the lead on it too. That's huge.
initially, because it is true that men start the courtship.
Yeah.
But typically, what happens is when women become more aggressive as their interest goes up, and they want to bond and connect and talk to you more. So they call you more and they text you more, and you simply get together more. In the beginning, it's usually the guy calling her to invite her out in the first couple of dates. But once she feels comfortable, and usually always out by the time you're hooking up, she starts texting and calling you a couple times a week. And if you were seeing each other once a week and now she's texting you 2, 3 times a week, you may end up seeing her 2 or 3 times a week, provided obviously you're available and none of the other girls in your rotation, your practice squad, are keeping you busy.
The thing is, also, this guy wants a committed relationship, and this is the next. So, in a way,
He probably
he
got
has
dumped
to
and he's trying to
tread
get her back.
very.
Wait, I thought the
He has
question.
to tread very lightly.
I thought the question was the guy. They were just trying to just hook up with an ex, and when I see that, that's just
The
someone just being
ex wanted
horny.
a casual friends with benefits. The dude wants commitment.
Yeah, so if he
Okay.
got
Saying,
dumped,
like I said, tread
Yeah, so he got
lightly,
dumped. He
because
got
that
dumped.
is
yeah, but
you're
that's not.
treading dangerous waters here, and I speak from experience.
I think the other party's just
Well, that's not going to help a guy attract the girl. The point being is that you got to create the conditions where she comes to you at her own pace. And typically in these situations, the guy's gotten dumped. So he's coming to me because he wants his ex back. So now they're hooking up, but the problem is she doesn't want the commitment. And that tells me he's probably still pursuing her. And so in that case, if you're the one that got dumped, just like I talked about in Seven Principles Get an Ex Back, if the girl blew it up, if she dumped you or friend zoned you or said no way, and then you went no contact, and a few weeks or a month or so later, she reached out and you got together, you maybe invited her over for dinner and you had some wine, maybe made dinner and you hooked up that night. You don't go back to pursuing her or calling her. You just, when she leaves, either that night or the next day, you kiss her goodbye, say, call me later. And then the next time she reaches out, you invite her over, and she should come to your place 3 times in a row. And as long as you hook up all 3 times in a row, then you can meet her out and pick her up. But you got to let her do all the calling, texting, pursuing when you've gotten dumped. Because she blew it up, she ended it, and therefore she's got to fix it.
Yep.
So if she pushed you away, she's got to pull you back in. And if you try to force that, what will happen is she'll bounce on you or she'll friend zone you once again, or you'll drive her into the arms of some other dude she may be talking to. Because if you let her come back at her pace, it's her idea. And then it goes at her pace. Because a lot of guys make the mistake when they're in this situation. They start calling and texting her and trying to get her out on more dates. And then she just starts being wishy-washy or canceling dates or going, I'm not feeling it. Something's missing. There's no spark. I'm confused. That's typically what you start hearing when you do that. So you gotta let her come to you.
Or she goes on those dates and she's probably not what he's expecting her to be. She's probably not being the nicest person that she could be towards him.
Because he's in a weak position to
And
leverage.
who
Because he's
knows?
trying too hard.
Right.
Who knows?
And
Worst case scenario, she might be sleeping around with other guys. Remember, they're single.
Yep.
You know,
correct.
So it's an ex.
I mean,
He's Jose loyal.
I hate to say it, but it's true.
But why doesn't he just do the same thing? I mean,
He
should be doing
should.
the same
He
thing.
should be, but
so
He
he can
should.
still
Gotta keep his options open.
He
like
could
his,
still get commitment, but from someone else, because this girl
well,
clearly
well,
sees him
not
as
that he's
nothing
still-
else.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say. Is he can still keep sleeping with her, and then he doesn't need to make her the center of all of
Exactly.
his attention.
She's one of his prospects.
He needs to find other women and go on dates with her, and let
Not
her
force him to
find
stay
out
there.
about him going
Another
on the
woman
Yes.
date.
stay.
Yes.
And so that's how, and then she's gonna be like, oh, so and then she's gonna see competition, and then and then he still needs to put her a little bit to the side
He should.
still,
Mhm.
and
that
keep
could
on
also
doing it.
backfire.
It-
And
Well,
And if it
Yeah.
does,
if it does, then
Yeah.
that means she wasn't
Then-
meant, and then he
Totally.
finds out there's better things out there.
depending on
So-
how
And they also broke up
long
for
and
a
what they've
reason.
been
You know, if
through.
you were
Yeah.
breaking up,
Well, most of the
odds
guys
are.
have come to me because they were acting like a beta male and they were displaying too much unattractive behavior and they get dumped or they got friend zoned and they want another chance. They want to get back to the romance they had before. And because we're guys, we're driven to succeed, we're driven to break through barriers, we think we have to do something. That's what I call the illusion of action. It's counterproductive.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, a lot of times the girl starts coming back, starts reaching out, and they start hooking up, and then he wants it to move to go right back into the relationship and a commitment. And then he starts calling and texting her and trying to make more dates happen before she's ready. And then what happens is she bounces on him or starts canceling dates or taking longer to respond to his texts. That's why if she dumped you, you've got to let her come to you and do all the pursuing because she messed it up. It's up to her to show through her actions by reaching out to you that she wants you back in her life. You can't force her to create space for you in her life. She messed it up. She got to fix it. She got to prove that she deserves another chance with you, not the other way around. Big difference.
See, but here's another thing too. I guess it just depends on whether or not this girl dumped the guy for, I don't know, because of his.
I'm like
Behavior,
99% sure
whatever.
that's what happened. Just because I've been doing this a long time, and that's 80% of the people come to me. They're the guy that got dumped, and they want the ex back. So he's probably cherry picking in videos. Probably hasn't even read the book yet. Maybe he hasn't even gone through 7 Principles to Get an Ex Back. But he's cherry picking. He's getting some results, but he's antsy and he's trying to force it. And the reason he doesn't feel safe and he tries to force it because he doesn't know what he's doing. He feels
not a good
insecure
idea.
about it. He feels fearful that she's not going to love him back. And so in order to make up for that, he tries to call her and text her more and always trying to figure out where he stands with her. And that just ruins the vibe. It's got to be her idea.
The thing is, like, from a different, I guess, perspective, say, in this case, this guy wants commitment with this chick, say he gets his wish, this girl out of the ordinary is like, oh, I want to get back together with you. Say you do get her back because she wants to get back together. It's not, everything's not what it seems. Maybe, again, from my experience, I did get back together with an ex at one point after we've been friends with benefits. But turns out I just realized over time it wasn't, you know, I got my wish, but things weren't, things could have been better. Sometimes you wish for something and it might not be what you want at the end of the day. But at this point
So
in
bottom
time,
line,
he
you
may or
gave
may
that guy
not know
another
this.
chance and it didn't work out. It ended the same
Yeah.
way it ended the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done the same
Now,
thing.
granted, there are people who get back together and they get married or whatever, but the chances of that happening are not as likely.
Yeah, because
Well,
each person
you
had
got to
to figure
understand, most of the
themselves out.
clients that are coming to me, they got to serve divorce papers, or their girlfriend dumped them, or friend zoned them, and they didn't want to get dumped. And a lot of times they'll say, "I didn't see it coming," and so that's what you're dealing with, somebody that turned her off to the point where she's like, "I don't even want to date and sleep with you anymore." And so when a guy comes across my work and starts reading my book, he recognizes, especially in the book, like what he did that was unattractive and turned her off. And so he stops doing those things. And so what typically happens, and she comes back, he's a different guy. He's more masculine. He's more mysterious. Women, you guys like mystery. You're. It's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. And so when she has to make the effort, especially if she's hearing through the grapevine that he was on a date with this really pretty girl or whatever, he's been
It's
seen
like a
with
flip
several
of a
women.
switch for her.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I better do, I don't want to lose the love of my life. And then
Mhm.
she tries harder to get him. And if you're a guy and you've been waiting for her to come back, you haven't dated anybody in, say, the 2 months since you broke up, you're still the same guy. But if you've been dating 2 or 3 other women, you've slept with a couple of them, you're going to feel a lot better. You're going to be cockier. You're going to have a little bit more swagger. And you're going to be less inclined to be a doormat or act like a beta male, because one is no choice, two is a dilemma, and three is a choice. So you be ideal to have three, because you have her and a couple of other girls, and if you're practicing with other women, when you do start talking to her again, you're better. You have more choices, you have more options. You're going to give off a different vibe, and she's going to feel that, and that's going to make her even more attracted.